No, my son. Okay, so quickly, Musar. Jesse, you got my message?
Yeah, I sent it out to the Chevra.
Okay, so I don't know. Aaron Horowitz obviously made early Shabbos. So tell Aaron Kaplan.
Aaron Horowitz is not here for Shabbos.
Oh, he ended up not here for Shabbos? Okay, so it's not negated to him. Okay, so I hope we'll have a minion. Jesse, if the other guy's not here?
As far as I know, everyone else is here.
Okay. Fine.
Is there something I should know about?
No, it's the regular Shabbos afternoon share, Rami. No, that's just
Rami, you should know about it, but yeah.
You don't want to push it. I shouldn't push it, you're saying.
Right.
Perfect.
okay. So I just want to say, because to be yai to the Musa. So yesterday we learned that don't be upset at people and jealous of them, and if they tick you off, etc., because Lamais Hashem is the one that did it to you. It's not if you get upset at somebody else, you're denying hashgacha pratis, you're denying Hashem that Hashem did something for you, right? That's the chinuch says that in what is the pshat that it's also to have revenge. You're not allowed to get revenge, and why not? The guy comes to you and he says, you go to a guy and you ask him to borrow a hammer. And he says, no. The next day, the guy comes to you and asks to borrow a screwdriver, and you say, no, you didn't lend me the hammer. So you're not allowed to do that. Why? Why do I have to lend him something if he didn't lend me? So the chinuch says, because then you're denying Hashem. It's not pshat that your friend didn't want you to have the hammer. Hashem didn't want you to have the hammer. Since Hashem didn't want you to have the hammer, if you get upset at your friend about it, that means you're denying that Hashem is the one that causes everything. So it's a big lack of betachon. Yeah, so that's yeah. All right, so that we yotze Musa. 1 second. Fine. Okay, so Zok the Mishna. Yeah, Gimel Achin, the Suin Gimel Nachriya. So you had 3 brothers married to 3 sisters, meaning 3 sisters. No, I'm sorry, not 3 sisters, not 3 sisters. 3 brothers. Is that what we're up to? Yeah, 3 brothers married 3 strange women, Umeis Echon Mehen, and one of them died, V'asav ben Hasheni Maimer, and the second one did Maimer. So Maimer, as we know, Maimer means he gave the intention, he said the intention that he's going to marry her. So it's a shaila whether that's a marriage or not. So Harei Elu Chaltzos V'lo Yevamos, then they're all going to have chalitza and not yibum. Again, so what happened was 3 brothers married to 3 strange women. One brother died, the other one did not do yibum, he did maimer, which then makes it that it's a suffix whether he was actually married to her or not. Umeis, and then he died, the one that did maimer died. So basically what happens is that this lady needs yibum from 2 different husbands, right? She needs yibum from Ruvain because that was her original husband, and she needs yibum from Shimon because Shimon might be her husband. Now they both died, so she needs yibum to try and keep 2 families going, right? Yeah, it's a fairly straightforward thing. Meaning, how come you can't just have 2 brothers that do yibum? Because that doesn't work. Once Reuben does yibum, then that's it. She has yibum, and then Shimon. I'm sorry. Once Reuben dies and Shimon does yibum, and then Shimon dies, so then that she's not falling to 2 different men for yibum. But if it's maimer, so then it could be that she is falling to 2 different men. What was the pasuk say? If one of the brothers dies, so then the Yavama, it does yibum to her. Only if she has supposed to have yibum from one person. But not that it should be on her the zika of 2. And she has the zika of 2. She has Reuven because Reuven died, and Shimon died. And they both are her husband. Reuven for sure was her husband. Shimon is a suffix of her husband. So we don't know. So therefore, we do chalitza, not yibum, like we've been learning. Shimon Aimer, Shimon says, no, he says she can get yibum from one of them, one of the brothers, and she could do do chalitza. She gets chalitza from the second one. Obviously, you can't do yibum for both. So then the Gemara asks, if you're saying that Zika, again, Zika means that they both have to they're both automatically consider her husbands, right? So chalitza nami like this. So what does she even need chalitza for? Let her just go free. Meaning, if she goes free because she has two brothers-in-law that need children, that need to have their families hopefully continued because they didn't have kids, then why do you need chalitza? Just let her go free. Ella midrabanan. It's a derabanan. And it's a gezerah that two yavamas that come from one house are people are going to think, oh, you have two brothers that need yibum, right? And we let her go. If we let them go scot-free, right? Then we're making the gezerah that the people are going to think that two yavamas who are from the same bias, they don't. You do both yibum, right, Miriam? Yeah. No. So the Gemara says v'niyavam lechada v'nichletz lechada. So the Gemara says, okay, so do yibum to one and chalitza to the other. Gzeira Shem Yom Rubayis Echad Miktsasei Banu or Miktsasei Anybody. Now the Amud Aleph. Now the Gzeira, if we're going to do that, then some people are going to say if one does yibum and one does chalitza, so we're going to say you do one house you do yibum, right? And then on the other house, Miktsasei, I'm sorry, I said body, Miktsasei chalitza, and the other one does chalitza. Meaning when you have a guy that dies with two wives, right? People are going to say, if you're going to do yibum to one, chalitza to the other, people are going to say, so every time a guy has two wives, you got to do yibum to the first one, and then the other one doesn't go scot-free. The other one needs chalitza. And that's not the halacha. The halacha is you do yibum to one of the ladies, and that's it. Everybody goes free. So the Gemara says, v'yayimru, so let them say that. So what is the big deal, right? Meaning a guy gets married, and he has 10 wives. So what's the din? You do yibum to one wife, the rest of the 9 go scot-free. So what are you worried about? You're going to do chalitza to the other 9? What is the big risk about doing chalitza? Other than Avi Khan, other than the Kayhanim, right? But I guess they're not so concerned. They agree with Aaron Horowitz. They're not so concerned about the Kayhanim.
Even for Kayanim, even if they do chalitza, she's going to be with terrorists. It's not a real thing.
Well, Kayan Gadol. Yeah, but no, but you don't know because they're going to have to make. Well, we weren't sure yesterday if that would ask them or not. Yeah. So I don't know. Either way, but as the Yom say it, so let them do chalitza. What's the big deal? No, there's no risk. So Gemara answers, you're right. If you only did yibum and then did chalitza, yeah. So what's the big deal? But the same rule applies. A guy has 9 wives and he does chalitza 10 wives, and they do chalitza to one wife. The other 9 you're not allowed to go do yibum to, right? So Alexander the Machalitz Beresh of Adam Yam. Then there's the Chalitza first, and then Yibum become like Basher Lo Yibna. It's going to be in the pasuk of if he didn't build the house. Since you decided that you're not building and you did Chalitza, you're no longer allowed to sleep with her because it's an issur. It's a sister-in-law, right? Meaning, if a guy decides he's doing chalitza, then he regrets it. His brother comes to him in a dream and says, "Hey, you didn't do a mitzvah to try and have any kids." He says, "Okay, let me do yibum." No, you can't. It's too late, right? So then it would be a problem. If they're doing chalitza first and then yibum, it's going to be a problem. Fine. So Amar Rava, Nasan get la mamar. Let's say what the guy did. He did mamar. Again, Ruvain. There were 3 brothers married to 3 different ladies, 3 non-related ladies. Ruvain died. And then Shimon did mamar, right? He didn't do yibum, and he didn't do chalitza. He did somewhere in the middle. He did mamar, but then he gave a get to her. So now it is a real mess because we don't know whether he was even married to her in the first place, and now he gave her a get. So hutra tzarasa, that will be matur the other wife, meaning Levi, the 3rd brother, can take the other wife. Aval he assur, but she, the one he did mamar to, and the one he gave the get to, she's also the michlef of a bailas get. She's might get mixed up with a bailas get. Meaning, if one of these scenarios, one of the brothers gives a get, and then you're not allowed to do any sort of yibum. So then therefore we don't let her do yibum even though we gave a get. He could the amri amarav nasan get lemamari hutra filuhi. If he taka gave a get to the one that he did the mamar to, then he's even allowed to. Not he, the 3rd, when the second one dies, that she is allowed to, he's never allowed to go back and do it, but the third one can go. If the second one dies, she becomes mutter. My timer, what's the reason? My da'avad ba shakla, what he did, he took back. Meaning he did mimer. We're not sure whether that mimer makes them married or not. But then he gave a get. So whatever shaila you had, whether mimer considers it as a marriage, when he gave the get, he took it back. And then it's not a problem. Fine. So those are two different versions of how of whether if he gives a get, whether that helps anything. So the Mishnah. Now we're back to the two brothers marrying the two sisters. And then one of them dies. Right? We had this 2 days ago. And then the second one's wife died. Now again, let's do it with the Reuven and Sheni. So Reuven and Sheni married sisters. Right? Then Reuven died. So what's the din? Shimon cannot do yibum, right? Or chalitza, because it's their sisters, right? So it would be his wife's sister. There's no yibum or chalitza, and they go scot-free. However, what happens then if one of the sisters dies? Right? One of the sisters dies. Then there's no longer an achos sekukasa. There's no sister because she died. So hareizu assur alav ilamis. No, he's still not allowed to do. He's still not allowed to do yibum. Why not? Since they were assur even for 1 hour, then memela they're always assur. Meaning that at one point these two sisters were alive. Since these two sisters were alive, he's not allowed to do yibum because then he's going to be biyavim. He's going to be married to his wife's sister, which is not allowed. Oh, right now the sister died, so there's no wife's sister. No, but since at one point there were two sisters alive and it was awesome for him to get married, so even though right now that went away because the sister died, still it doesn't apply. Which the Gemara is then going to say it should depend on what order it happened. Did he die first or did she die first? So the Gemara says pshita. What you just said is pashut. Hashdo ma hasam. In the case we had this 2 blot ago. In the case of 3 brothers, Reuven, Shimon, and Levi, right? We remember the case back then was 3 brothers, 2 of them married sisters, and one married a stranger, right? So that stranger, Levi, could have done yibum, right? He could have done yibum to, how does it go? Levi could have done yibum to one of them, right? Right, she could, right. Levi was not assur to her. Yeah. Right, so one of the brothers, yeah, so yeah, he can marry, because it's not achos because it's not the wife of his, the Levi could have married him, but still we said you're not allowed to do it. So again, pshita, hashto mahasam, where there's 3 brothers, 2 married sisters, one married a stranger. One of the boys that was married to the sisters died. So Shimon, who's married to the other sister, can't do yibum, but Levi could. And even so, even though there was a way for this woman to have yibum from one of these brothers, we said you can't do it. Here, where there's only 2 brothers and 2 sisters, and there's no way for her to have yibum, like Koshikins, so of course she's going to be assur forever, even if one of those sisters dies. So then we had the same teretz also 2 blot ago. Tanna, hi Tanna Beresh. I mean, so the Gemara is asking, what's the chiddush? If by 3 brothers you're saying that she's assur forever, so by 2 brothers for sure you're assur forever. So my answer is Tanna, hi Tanna Beresha. Really, yes. This Tanna said this Mishnah first, which is the less of the chiddush. Baha chazia le'teira. Right, and then he thought that the first case would be mutter b'sharia. He would allow if the one of the sisters died, he would allow the other brother to do yibum. The hadar chazi le'issur. Then he decided that it's assur. So now what? Since he was the chiddush, meaning the previous Mishnah with the 3 brothers, was a bigger chiddush to him, so he said it first. And the Mishnah doesn't move from its place. So since it doesn't move from its place, meaning he didn't want to move the order. So really, Enochanami, this Mishnah does not have to be learned. But since it was learned first, then he learned the bigger chiddush. So he taught that Mishnah first, but he didn't want to erase this Mishnah, so he just kept it. Fine. So Tanna Rabbanan. Now we start with a new sugya, a major shas sugya, which is called Ein Issur Chal Al Issur. I'm sure everybody heard it, right? We had it once before. Can one issur fall on another issur? So Tanna Rabbanan, in this case of the brothers married to two sisters, so it's assur for them to do yibum. But let's say they did. Now there's two issurim he's over. If he did yibum, he was over on two issurim. It's his brother's wife, which you're not allowed to do unless the Torah allows it out to yibum, which it didn't here, and it's also the sister of his wife. So he has two ervas that he was over on. Is he chayav twice or only chayav once? So Torah b'nabala, if he does do yibum, chayav la mishum eishes ach or mishum eishes isha. He is chayav because it's his wife's, it's his brother's wife, and it's also because it's his wife's sister. Divrei Rabbi Yosi. That's Shita's Rabbi Yosi. Reb Shimon Omer ein chayav ela mishum eishes ach bavad. Reb Shimon says they're not. You only chayav one for the first issur that happened, which is the brother's wife. Right? So Gemara asks, "Vatani Reb Shimon Omer ein chayav ela mishum achois isha bavad." We said the opposite. That Reb Shimon is only chayav once. He's only mechayav in one malchus, one chorus, whatever it is. But we said that it's for his wife's sister. So Gemara answers. So which one is it? Which one does Reb Shimon say you're chayav for? Like kasha nasa chayav achakach nasa meis. One is talking about where the brother Shimon, who was still alive, got married before Ruvain died, right? So therefore, she was ushered him because of his wife's sister before she was ushered him, his brother's wife. In Kansha Nasa Meis, and here is talking about where the one that died got married first, and then the one that's alive. So meaning basically whichever order it goes first, that's the issur. According to Reb Shimon, whichever issur was first, that's the one you get punished for. And the second one is Ein Issur Chalal Issur. So basically what the Gemara is saying now is Rabbi Yosi, who says you chayav twice, says Yesh Issur Chalal Issur. He says one issur could fall on another issur. So you could have a lady who's first your sister-in-law, then she becomes your wife's sister, you're going to be chayav twice. That's Shita's Rabbi Yosi. Rabbi Shimon says no, whichever one you were chayav on first, that's the one you're chayav for, and the other one you're not chayav for. Rabbi Shimon,
does this make a difference in Shaygig and Mazid? If he's Shaygig on the first one, Mazid on the second one, Rabbi Shimon would not give a Misa?
I would think not, right?
I would say, yeah.
I'm not sure. It would be. I mean, can you be chayav a shoygin? Well, how's that going to be? Well, we have to see because it has to happen at the same time.
Yeah, he knew it was his sister-in-law one way, but not the other way.
You mean he didn't? He only. Okay, I don't know.
He didn't know it was Eishes Aviv. His brother got married in secret. He had no idea.
Yeah.
But he knew it was his wife's sister.
Here, I don't know. Okay, I'm not sure. So let's see. Reb Shimon Heichud the Nasa Meis v'Avig Nasa Chai, where the mace, the one that again Nasa Meis, if you translate it literally, means the dead person got married. That's not what it means, right? It means that the one that eventually died got married first, right? Kancha Nasa Meis v'Avig Nasa Chai. And what I'm sorry, Reb Shimon Heichud the Nasa Meis v'Avig Nasa Chai, where the one that died got married first, and then the one that was alive got married. Even the issur achos isha loy chayil tisyavim yibum. So if you're saying since the issur achos isha is not chal, so then why doesn't he do yibum? Meaning this is when you think about it, it's a wild question. We're basically saying you're saying ain't issur chalal issur, right? So if his sister-in-law was the first issur, that issur the Torah says is mutter, right? Achos isha was saying ein issur chalal issur. So if it's ein issur chalal issur, so then it's not chal. So all it is she's assur out to brother's wife, which the Torah says do yibum to. So Gemara answers Amar Ravashi issur achos isha misla tali b'koi. It's hanging there. The wife's sister issur is hanging there. Ipaka issur eishes ach. If issur eishes ach falls on them, asi issur achos isha b'chayil, then the wife's sister is going to come and take its place. Therefore, it's not going to go away. This is not going to go away. Basically, what we're saying is that the second issur doesn't go away completely. What it is, it's in the background. If necessary, we'll implement it. If not, then we won't. So what says, Rav Yosi issur halal issur? Does Rav Yosi hold that one issur is chal on another issur? Right? And that's why you chayav twice. But Tanna, we learned in the brayso, over aveira sheyesh bo shtei misas. If somebody did an aveira that has two misas on it, nidan bechamura, you get the stricter one, right? We always go with the stricter. Rabbi Yosi says nidan bezika rishana habala. He says no, you go with whatever is the first issur that came onto you, right? The Tanya, and we learned in the brayso, Tzara Amar Rabbi Yosi. What did Rabbi Yosi say? Is then nidan bezika rishana habala. You go with the first issur that comes onto you. It's very interesting that the Gemara chooses to use the lashon of zika. It has nothing to do with zika of yibum, right? It's just zika means whichever issur came onto you first, right? So it's just a sense of humor of the Gemara. So chamoisai benasis eishes ish nidem chamoisai. If his mother-in-law, right? Let's say she was a widow. Right, so right now she's assur to him because it's his mother-in-law. Then she gets married. So now she's assur him twice. She's assur because it's his mother-in-law, and it's also assur because she's an eishes ish. So nidam b'chamaisai.
Chef,
Therefore,
you have laundry that you need to move around.
Therefore, he only goes with the mother-in-law. Eishes ish. Let's say his mother-in-law was married, right? V'nasis chamoisai, and then she became a mother-in-law, which is usually the standard case. Right, a woman's married, then she gets a son-in-law, right? So nidan be'eishes ish. He gets just like an eishes ish. So whatever it is, you see that Rabbi Yosi holds that it's ein issur chalal issur, and you shouldn't be chayav twice. Gemara answers on Amud Beis now. Amar Rabbi Bo, Rabbi Yosi b'issur mosif. We got to know this clear. We got to know this clear for the next couple of blocks, right? Rabbi Yosi is maida where something is added on, then that's considered. There you say this. There you're going to be chayav twice. Now, what does added on mean? Exactly that. Meaning, when more people are going to be involved in the issur, then since there's additional issur going on here, therefore we say that you're going to be chayav twice. Right, so depending on how it all plays out, right? Meaning, if in the case with the mother-in-law, so first she's an eishes ish, and then she becomes a mother-in-law. There's no other people being added here. This mother-in-law was assur to him before; she's assur to him now. It's just an additional issur. But if you have a scenario where more people become assur because of a marriage, then you are going to say that there's issur chalal issur. Right? So Gemara, let's see what like an example is. Oh, so this would be good where the guy who's living, meaning Shimon, was married, and then afterwards, so if Shimon was married, and then afterwards nasa meis, and then his brother Ruvain, who eventually died, got married to the sister, right? So what happened here is migudi taisif issur legabi achim taisif issur legabi didei. Since there are more brothers involved now that are assur, so therefore we're going to add issur onto him too. Meaning, if more people, when this thing becomes assur in advance, meaning when Shimon gets married to the sister, all that, right? So Ruvain is not allowed to. Ruvain's not, well, he got married to the sister, so the sister is that wife obviously is assur to everybody, but her sisters are all mutter to the brothers, right? When the other brother goes and gets married to the other sister, now there's going to be added issur onto him because now we added on more people. So therefore, since we added on more people, there's an additional issur on the person. So again, migudi taisif issur legabi achim, since there's a new issur by the brothers, right? Meaning by the other brothers, itaisif issur legabi didei. So we're going to add the issur onto him too, right? But let's say the guy who died got married first. So Ruvain got married, right? So she is assur to everybody in the family because of the brother's wife. And then the brother who eventually was living got married. So now Reuven's wife became assur as achos ishtoi, right? But so what? My issur mosif equal. You're not adding on any more people to the issur. You're just adding on an additional issur. Meaning, depending on how it's structured, right? It could depend on what it's assur. The mashal. Let's say you have bread that was avodah zara. Right? We're before Pesach. Let's say you have bread that was avodah zara. So that's assur to eat it. Then it comes Pesach and you eat the bread. You chayav twice, right? Because you chayav because of avodah zara, and you chayav because you're eating chametz. But no, that's not an additional issur to anybody. That's just adding on another issur. So there, Rabbi Yosi is going to say, "Ein issur halal issur," right? But let's say you have a case where the chametz was truma. So till Pesach, it was assur for Yisraelim to eat it. Then comes Pesach, and it's added on. Now Kohanim can't eat it either. And then on Pesach, a Yisrael comes and eats it. Since now all the Kohanim were added into the issur, so therefore the Yisrael will get chayav twice if he eats it too. Basically, issur mosif means if we add more people into the issur, then other people have to also. So then the Gemara's answer, it really depends on which brother got married first. Gemara continues, since they were all the brothers became assur, high issur koilalu. That's not an issur mosif. That's an issur koilal. That doesn't mean that it's assur to learn in koilal. I'm sure. I don't know if that's what the Olam's thinking. That's not what it means. Issur koilal means that it's just more issur going on there, which is not what he's saying. Fine. So Elo Amar Rava. What it means is we look at him like he did two averos, but he's only going to be chayav one. This is if he did two averos, and he's only chayav one. Okay, that's very nice. But my nafkamina, what's the difference? Right? Meaning, if you're not giving him two punishments, who cares that he did two averos? Right? Everything has to be practical. So he's saying, oh, we look at him like he did two averos and he only did one. Right? But so what? So my nafkamina, the kavrai bein rishayim gemurim. Right? So back then they had different parts of the cemetery for people doing different issurim. Right? The Gemara says in Sanhedrin that they had two beis hakvarosis. Right? One for haruge bezdin, right? And one for different types. For the different types of haruge bezdin, right? So this guy, because he did two isurim, is going to go into the stricter one, even though we're only going to give him a punishment for one of them, because we look at it like he did two averos, right? Okay, that would be the whole nafkamina. Fine. So now we have a quick Gemara here. 3 scenarios where there's a Machlokes, right? 3 scenarios where we have a Machlokes. It's whether we say issur halal issur plukta, and this is going on. This whole thing of issur koilal and issur mosif is actually Machlokes, right? The itmar, because we learned zar shashimish b'Shabbos. Let's say a zar, a Yisrael, he's not allowed to go. He's not allowed to work in the Beis HaMikdash because he's not a kohen. But let's say he works in the Beis HaMikdash and he works in the Beis HaMikdash on Shabbos. So he's doing 2 issur. He's being machal Shabbos and he's also Yisrael working in the Beis HaMikdash. So what's the story? Is he chayav twice or not? Reb Chia Omer chayav shtayim. Reb Chia says he's chayav twice. Bar Kafra Omer ein chayav ala achas. Bar Kafra says he only chayav one. So now it seems like that's the similar machlokes that we just have. Are we going to say that you chayav twice or not? So Kafatz Rabbi Chia v'nishpa. Rabbi Chia jumped up and he swore, "Havoida kach shamati mi Rebbe." This he made a shvua. This is what I heard from Rebbe. Shtayim. I heard that he's chayav twice. Kafetz bar kapra v'nishma. And then bar kapra got up and swore, "Havoida kach shamati." This is what I heard, mi Rebbe. Kach shamati. This is what I heard from Rebbe. Achas, he only chayav one. So yes, Reb Chia Ladon. Reb Chia explained what his rationale was. Shabbos l'chol nesra. Shabbos is also to everybody. Right? Every yid has to keep Shabbos. Kishahutra up in Mikdash, but in the base of Mikdash, they allowed Chil Shabbos to bring the karbanos. Eitzel Kaihanim, but they matter it by who? Eitzel Kaihanim Hutru. Only Kaihanim were allowed to do it, not Yisraelim. The Kaihanim Hutru v'loy lezarim. They only allowed Kaihanim and not Zarim. Yesh kan rishum zaros. So then, therefore, you have an avera because of zaros of Yisrael. Yesh kan rishum Shabbos, and you have the Gzeira because of Shabbos. Not a Gzeira, but the issur of Shabbos. So therefore, you chayav twice. Meaning because there was an added issur going on here. Right? Before Shabbos, on Shabbos in the Beis HaMikdash was only an issur for Yisraelim. Right? And then how does it go? I just want to make sure I say it right. Shabbos was also for everybody and mutter for Kaihanim, and then but not for Zorim. And then then Zorim have an additional issur. They're not allowed to be in the Beis HaMikdash, and they're not allowed to be on Shabbos. But he said the other way. Shabbos l'chol nesra. Shabbos is also to everybody. Kishahutra b'mikdash. Hutra, when they were matter Shabbos in the Beis HaMikdash, they were matter, but ein kan ela zaros. The only issur you have is zaros, right? So therefore, you're only gonna get one because the Beis HaMikdash in the Beis HaMikdash is no chilul Shabbos. Fine, a similar case. Bal mum, somebody who has a mum, so he's not allowed to work in the Beis HaMikdash. Shimish betuma, and somebody who's tummy is not allowed to work in the Beis HaMikdash. So somebody has a mum and who's tummy, he's got both. And he worked in the Beis HaMikdash. He's chayav twice or once. He's chayav twice. Bakafra says he only chayav one. Reb Chia jumped up and he swore. This is what I heard from Rebbe Shtayim. I heard that you chayav twice. I heard that you chayav once. Hischil Reb Chia Loden, he started to explain. Tuma l'chol nesra. Tuma's also for anybody going to the Beis HaMikdash b'tumah. Kishahutra b'mikdash etzel kahanim tamimim hutra. They allowed it by kahanim who are don't have a mum. They mattered going to the Beis HaMikdash. So kahanim tamimim hutra v'lo lebali mum. They only allowed kahanim that were complete and not bali mum. So yesh kan mishum bali mum and yesh kan mishum tumah. So you have two issurim here. You have bali mum and you have tumah. Right? It's not adding on to anybody, but it's just adding more people. Not adding more people, adding more isurim. So Hischel Bakar for Lodon, he looks at it the opposite. Tuma l'chol nesra. Tuma, everybody can't go into the Beis HaMikdash b'tumah. Kishahutra b'mikdash hutra. When they mattered it, right? They were mattered it. So in the Beis HaMikdash, ein kan ela mishum bal mum. So only issur you have here is bal mum. So then it's only one issur. Fine. Last case, similar. Zar Shacham Malika. So now Malika is the way they slaughtered birds in the Beis HaMikdash was by taking the thumb and slicing the neck, which is a nevela, right? In the Beis HaMikdash it works, but for Yisrael to eat it, it's a nevela because it wasn't shechted properly, and he's also eating kachim.
Is it only for Eilah side? It's only for Eilah side, no?
Malika's for everybody.
Yeah. It's for Chatas Eiv also?
I think so. I thought everything. Anyway, so Zar Shacham Malika. Reb Chia Aimer chayav shtayim. He's chayav twice. Bakavra Aimer ina chayav elachas. He's only chayav one. Kafetz Rebbe Chia v'nishba. He got up and he swore. Havoy the kashamati Rebbe. Shtayim kafetz ba kafetz. Bakavra. Sorry. Rebbe Shtayim. I heard two. Kafetz bakavra. You think of the third time I would get it right. Kafetz bakavra v'nishba. Havoida kashamati mi Rebbe achas. I heard from Rebbe one. So his Reb Chia Lodon. Reb Chia began to dan. Nevela l'chol nesra. Nevela is also everybody. Nobody's allowed to eat something not slaughtered. Kishahutra b'mikdash etzel kahanim. But when they allowed a bird that was slaughtered with a fingernail, they allowed it for kahanim. The kahanim hutra v'lo zarim. They allowed it for kahanim and not for zarim. Yesh kan mishum zaris. So then you have an issur of zaris. Yesh kan mishum malika, and you also have the issur of malika, which is nevela. Right, so Hischel Bakavra Lodon, and Bakavra began to dan. Nevela l'chol nesra. He said, no, Nevela is also everybody because Shehutra Mikdash Hutra. When they allowed it in the Beis HaMikdash. Ein kan ela mishum zaros. So the only issur you have is zaros. So those are the three cases where Reb Chia and Bakavra have a Machlokes, seemingly whether when you add on isurim, even though it's not being added on to people, meaning issur kailo, do we say the rule of your chayav twice because Ein issur chal al issur, or do we say yesh issur chal al issur? So those are the three cases. Tomorrow's daf, as Hashem, will discuss exactly what they're arguing about and see where the Gemara is headed with this. Okay, fine. Have yourselves Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbos,
Shabbos.
Shabbos, everybody.
Have a good Shabbos. Thank you.
Good Shabbos, everyone.
Yeah. Um,
Shabbos.
Shabbos, Zagazim.